Hey, what is this? Ah, the mortal classic. Policeman is your friend and other lies by Loompanics Press. Where are they? It's on the inside. Loompanics Unlimited. I remember this. I got this in the late '90s, or I was kind of I guess a left-leaning anarchist, going back to or going back, becoming more of a right-leaning anarchist, mainly because of street crime, and also because there's just certain the leftist people I was around. Some of them I still remember fondly, but not most of them. I don't. Um, we used to argue a lot about the nature of street crime. I had people from more privileged backgrounds than I, or more rural backgrounds than I, slumming it in the city, telling me, a man who, or I guess, yeah, a man who had grown up in the city, they would basically explain to me the things that happened to me, what really happened, rather than taking my view of it, which was very, very educational. Uh, Loompanics, man, these guys were great. Like Paladin Press was another one. There were some other ones too, but Loompanics, they were literally the before the internet. I remember they actually had a website at some point, but before the internet, you can see 1996. You had to mail order these books, and man, they covered. Well, I'll show you in the back a little bit, but I want to show you this. Uh, this thing always was always. I mean, I read this before I read anything from James. Right, James' book was about martial arts, and then he had the commentary in it. The first book, the other immortal classic, The Fighting Edge. But this one was straight up like just cultural. It was '96. Your boy Clinton was the prez. You had Waco just a couple of years before. You had the whole Ruby Ridge thing. You had all these militias. I remember the militias were gonna put a theocracy on America, and you had all this stuff going on. And I had started reading more alternative stuff that was actually useful. And yeah, You Hold in Your Hands, a book about lies. And this guy, pretty much, you could say he's like you could say he offended everybody. But this is sort of, I always come back to this. This guy really nailed a lot of where I think a lot of people headed. Okay? The kind of anti-authoritarian, like non-liberal sort of view on things, which requires what? When you can't rely on authority, and you're not a liberal, or have liberal ideas, what does that mean? What fills in that gap? Fascism. No, just kidding. Masculinity, which is fascism, by the way, to many people today. I mean, he basically attacks everybody: the feds, the cops, the COs, the education system, scientists, the media. He's from New York. I think this guy actually, it's a pseudonym. This is obviously a pseudonym, but I think he was from the Buffalo area. He had mentioned, so he's from like the other side of New York State, Western New York, which is more like the I guess the Midwest, and it's practically in Canada, but it's still the Empire State, right? I always like that as a native son of New York. I feel free to criticize the place with as much vehemence as I can muster. Exactly. Me too. The other thing that was interesting too when I was reading this was he starts each chapter with quotes I had never heard of. I didn't know who J.K. Chesterton was. He brings up this guy, Albert J. Nock. Our enemy of the state. I never heard of these people. I remember reading this going, who is Albert J. Nock? And at one point I was even like, Rome will always give us working as we must by analogies. The key to understanding our own future. Oswald Spengler. I remember going, who the hell is that? The Decline of the West. And then there's another, the good old Lysander Spooner. Okay, I keep saying that in the 19th century, I probably would have been a leftist in quotation marks. Probably up until the election with Bryans and McKinley, where I would have voted for Bryan. But at this point, it's just great. It's just against the whole PC thing. I mean, into particulars, education's a racket. Go to college, get a job, take out loans, pay for college, get a job to pay for the loans. This is still happening. I didn't go through this, but this is still happening to a lot of people now. Okay, where you have the whole move to erase the debt of the people that paid. Whereas if you paid yours off, I mean, you're a sucker. But of course you're a sucker. You're an American, right? Right? You train students not to be patriots or taxpayers, but to be consumers. So there's a real, you could say middle way, I guess, third way position in this, but very anti-state in this. Here we go. Albert J. Knocker, Lysander Spooner. I remember this turned me on to a lot of people to begin the the journey. Lou Rockwell, antiwar.com, Murray Rothbard, right? The guy's also a tough. He actually wrote a couple of books on street fighting too. He wrestled in school, and I think he boxed like amateur. And he has some cool fight stories. Apparently, he also worked as a border guard at one point. So, it's not really. I mean, I would recommend. You could probably get this at this point. You can get this for free. I mean, this book is when I bought it, but there's a few things here I guess I want to get into. He really does what I do at this point, which I still have from my leftist days. He really takes on capitalism. Okay, let's see if we can get in here. Freedom of wage slavery, right? Right. Adam Smith's economics are not the economics of individualism. They're the economics of landowners and mill owners. Oh, you don't understand. All right, I want it. I don't care. I don't want to hear your free market. We're done with that stuff, okay? You saw your free market got you. Plutocracy. Oh, but that's not a free market. Dude, just stop. Just stop. You're never gonna have that world. Okay, this is the world we're in. Right? The American dream is a myth, but it is based on the big lie of the free market. America is all about making money. It's an economic zone. It's a plantation. Okay. All right. The market deserves capitalism because it is the true deity of American capitalism, the idol of the American dream. Okay. All right. The market promises a painless, I don't even know what that word is, parousia in America, unfettered operation of its so-called natural laws. Okay, capitalism is supposed to bring health, wealth, and freedom. The market delivers sickness and death instead, wealth only for a few, and a subtle slavery for many. Right? Right. Right. The marketness demands cheapness. Listen, I keep telling you, the biggest thing about the economic reality of America as it's formed, okay, is the concept of cheap labor. Constantly, cheap labor is one of the biggest. It's where a lot of your problems come from in terms of the actual mechanics of it. Okay, a lot of the problems we're having is just because this civilization is dying, like all civilizations do. That's the Spengler reference here, but. Right, the market demands cheapness. The laborer's wife, in order to try and maintain their way of living, enters the market. Right, data entry. Her children, should she have any, families are not cheap, can spend their days the low-wage market-employed caregivers of the daycare center. Right, the middle-class American is the freedom of wage slavery. Right? This is a huge thing. People can't get their heads around it, and they get real emotional about it. It doesn't matter because you're going into that world. I like it here. The other thing he did, which is good, is taking a shot at conservatism. Okay, none of the lies about the economy are as contemptible as the so-called conservatives who shill for the market. One expects the avowed collectivists and controllers of all stripes to lie and lie openly, but those who seek freedom for families and individuals, justice in reality, and not merely in the abstract, and the preservation of the traditions and customs of our ancestors, all things a true conservative would be expected to seek, should be held to a higher standard. Right? Most of the political hacks who style themselves conservatives in America are merely pimps for plutocrats. Okay, I mean, if everyone from all your guys on talk radio, and I mean almost all your guys, National Review, that's this is the main thing to understand about conservatism. Okay, and you're seeing the wages of that now. So, right, the American conservative seeks greater freedom for plutocrats to exploit, lower taxes for corporations, the people that have actually done you in the end, and their bosses, bigger government through national defense, and more state coercion through getting tough on crime. Well, I guess you can't be right about everything because they're gonna get tough on your ass, not the criminals. Wait, you are the criminal, my fellow reader or fellow listener, right? A conservative should seek to preserve the family and the legacy of the past, right? So I like this here too, the right to be lazy. This is a big one here, okay? In a nutshell, okay? Each of us has the right to be lazy, okay? Now, of course, the actual work you do is what you love to do, whether it makes money for you or not. It helps if it does, but you get what I'm saying. Like, work makes you free, so to speak. But in terms of working for a wage, each of us has the right to be lazy. As with every other right, the right to be lazy brings with it responsibility. The responsibility involves tuning out the lies, making do with less, and finding satisfaction in freedom instead of spending. Find the work you love, find a way to make it suffice to support you and yours, and do it. Right? The right to be lazy. Every right comes with an obligation. Remember that? But... And just to round this out, there's so much in this. I don't know if you guys will even look at it, but I wanted to mention this as a good masculine manual. And this guy also wrote some other books. The one on wrestling was interesting. I'm not a great wrestler, but I have a decent amount of wrestling and grappling experience. And that's still a fun book. I forgot what it was called. It was also by Loompanics. What then must we do, Comrade Lenin? Well, all right. Once again, we go back to Albert J. Nock. I'm going to cover him at some point. The only thing that the psychically human being can do to improve society, to present society with one improved unit. Now, I know the cry, oh, individualism. Yeah, I get it. I keep saying that. Having nothing but individualism, it's not good. Right? It's you should have both. You should have tribalism and individualism. They balance each other, but we don't have that. But all you have is yourself. The car that you have in the driveway is not the supercar of tribalism. You have the hoopty of individualism. So you got to find a way to make that thing work for you. All right. So, right. Don't dare stay to change society. Right. Recognize the evils in society, criticize them, or maybe not now. Maybe expose the lies, but don't worry about changing them, right? Start small, right? Opt out. As much as you can, have little to do with the lies, right? Whether it's a homestead or whatever, right? But, right. Don't trust the police and simply avoid them, right? Buy only what you need instead of what the advertisers would like you to. When the next war rolls around, steer away from the cheerleading and jingoism you'll hear. And we're going to have, you think, oh, we have a left-wing socialist communist government. There's going to be more wars, guys. Okay. Pay as few taxes as you can get away with. Vote if you must, right? You vote tactically. You vote for a guy who you might jam in the door, although that may not work anymore. If it's a chance. But now... I don't think any votes matter anymore. No votes matter. Right, stay small, right? Cultivate the human-sized organic relationships in your life. Concern yourself with your family, your friends, where you live, right? Start with yourself, right? Make yourself the qualities that make you stronger, smarter, more free, and happier. Well, the happy thing might be a little happy thing to end, but... he mentions the cynics, the stoics, and everything. So, but yeah, make yourself a better man, because not because it's gonna get me chicks. Oh, it's gonna get me money. It's gonna get me status. No, you should be a better man because you should be a better man for you. That's individualism. Aha, selfishness. That's right. Evil in these goings down. All right, later.